We are recording. Hello, Rachel. How are you?
Hello, Mike. I'm great. How about yourself today?
I am doing fantastic. I'm very excited to have you on the show today. We have lots to talk about, a lot of cool stuff. And so I have to ask you, how's your studying going? Have you fully converted over to online learning?
Yes, I have. It's all virtual now, so we're just going with the flow with that. But I'm excited. I'm almost done my studies of 3 years in the past 3 years for naturopathic medicine, and I'm almost ready to go into clinic. But it all is it's virtual right now, so hopefully it can actually be practical and in person by the time I'm
Yeah.
entering. But it is what it is for now, right?
Yeah, and I think that's where everybody's going right now. I mean, I'm not a very online, I'm kind of a hands-on type of person. I'm a hands-on learner. That's how I learn. I
For
mean,
sure.
that's just the way I enjoy it too, like sitting in front of the computer, just listening to somebody talk about that. Like, what are you guys learning right now? Are you guys more into pharmacology, pathology of disease? Like, where is it kind of end up? Because you have like one more year, or is it just the last year?
Yeah, so this is the last semester of my schooling, and then in 3 months I'll actually be interning with patients. So at this point in the pathway of what it's been a crazy journey. We've learned we're medically trained for naturopathic. Well, I'm at the Canadian College of Naturopathic Medicine in third year now. So at this point, I've learned all of the pathology, all of the diagnosis part, so I'm confident in that. And I've also been trained in acupuncture for the past 3 years, traditional Chinese medicine, homeopathy, botanical medicine, clinical nutrition, along with all of the other medical part of it, physical exams and intake and all that. So we're getting a whole bunch of modalities all together. So at this point in my studies, I'm kind of coming to the conclusion part, putting all the pieces together and really thinking of how I'm going to enter into clinic and use all these tools that I've gotten over the years. So it's pretty big stuff.
Yeah. So as far as going into clinic, where do you guys do your clinical? Do you do it at an actual regular hospital, or you do it actually at the college? Where's that? How does that work?
Yeah, so there's a clinic that's attached to the college. So it's called the Robert Shad Naturopathic Clinic, and all the fourth year interns will just get rotated into the clinic, and we have basically shifts that we cover over the next year, and then after a year of interning there, then we'll write our two licensing exams or four if you're leaving Ontario, and then you'll be licensed, and then you can go on your own. You can find your own clinic, your own integrative place, or make your own clinic. Eventually, I would like to do that too, but all in the right time, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So that being said, you're kind of on the cusp of some really different stuff. And I've always wondered how you're going to integrate some of the things that you do outside of the naturopathic studies. Like, I mean, the past life regressions, because
Yeah.
for me, I'm seeing right now there's a trend in a lot of students, especially the naturopathic students or, TCM practitioners. They're developing a new set of skills that are traditionally not involved, excuse me, in the normal schooling process, like dealing with past life regression, birth charts, you know, uh, energy healing as far as like Reiki goes and other things like that. Are you seeing yourself the progression of your classmates learning more about those sort of things or bringing that into their studies, or is it kind of like, let's not talk about that right now. We can't talk about that.
Yeah, you hit it bang on the head basically. There's a bit of both going on, really. I notice in my year and in other upper years too, there is a mix. Mostly there's a whole underground kind of hidden thing of like a reputation that naturopathic medicine wants to uphold, being that it's medically based and that it's evidence-based medicine and that we're trained in a reputable place and source and stuff. But I noticed that there is a few, probably around 10 to 20% of students that truly have an interest in energetic medicine and going beyond, but it definitely isn't taught at the school. And it's basically shushed, and it's too bad because that's where I find my purpose and my passion on this earth. I really want to integrate my energetics and do something completely innovative that hasn't been traditionally done by naturopaths. But yeah, it's just interesting to me how even the regulatory board of naturopaths, they actually were thinking to get rid of homeopathy because it doesn't uphold the reputation or what they're trying to strive for. They're trying to strive for evidence-based medicine, with like concrete sources of information so that they can attain their reputation, right? So it's interesting. Things are changing. I do see a big there is shift, but for me, I feel like I'm so far in the energetic side of things that even I myself don't belong, like the black sheep, basically, right?
Yeah, I've had a few people on there, and even actually people who are practicing right now, they're kind of like expanding outside the normal scope of their practicing.
Yeah.
They don't talk about it a lot, but they've kind of mentioned it in my podcast, which I was quite surprised. I was like, oh, okay, we're going to go there. All right. So, I mean, which is fantastic because I love that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I really find it really, really interesting. So, with your skill set, and let's kind of talk about your skill set, how did your psychic abilities kind of open up to you? Was it like a very young, or did it happen like later in life? You know, like when did it actually start evolving for you?
Yeah, for sure. So ever since I could remember, I've always been a very psychic child. I'm young, but I found my purpose very early in life, so I've just strived towards that. But I have been I've been psychic since I could remember. I've been a black sheep of the family. I've been able to see it all, feel it all, but see it from a multi-dimensional perspective. And for people that don't really understand what that is, multi-dimensional is I am basically able to see other dimensions, communicate with other spirit guides or ancestors of different dimensions, angels. But I've been able to also see energy around me too. And this has been since I was a child. So I've really started developing this over the last 7 years, but I've always had it. And I was looking for a profession that would align with who I am and my purpose. And as much as I could. And I did find naturopathic medicine, but I do find myself, I do feel I will be going against the grain a little bit and doing something different than the rest, right? So, but yeah, I have seen it all and I feel everything so deeply. I'm a Scorpio and I feel all this energy very deeply and I've seen it all. So, yeah, that's basically where it started when I was a kid.
Okay, yeah, which is, it's a lot of the typical stories I've heard with people who are very, very psychic, especially as a kid. Now, for myself, it didn't know. I mean, I was psychic as a kid. I just didn't know I was psychic. I was more of an empath, and I didn't
True.
know. I just thought I was batshit crazy for the most part. That was one of the things. Most of my development didn't happen until later in life. I wasn't like, I was seeing ghosts and seeing grandmother at the table and things like that. Like most of the psychics that you read about or hear about. Like mine was basically most of my gifts really started open after I had my level 1 Reiki. That's
Okay.
when the kind of door opened and I was like, what the frick? Like what's
Yeah.
going on? Like, now it's like, why am I getting these messages from somebody's grandmother and what am I seeing? And so and again, there's not a lot of training out there and it just kind of like, you kind of fall into it and it's like, oh, wow, this is really interesting. And
Yeah.
it wasn't always the best about when I was working with my clients because I was actually working in a practice. I was working in a clinical practice. So I
Okay.
was working in a chiropractor clinic.
Mm.
So some of the people thought it was just more of a relaxation. I go in and start talking about what's happening on their body. And they're kind of going, what's going on? And then they would leave like either crying or kind of shaking from the treatment, right? Because they're just so profound. That wasn't really good for business because nobody wanted to come in and kind of see, what is this crazy guy doing? So
Yeah, that makes sense. That sounds like a true healer to me, though. You can see things from the deepest levels in the root, right?
yeah, and that's exactly where I always believe you got to get to the root causes. You can't do that surface stuff.
Yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about
Mhm.
was your journey. When we had a previous conversation before we came to air, you were talking about how you transverse the dark night of the soul.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people have gone through a dark night of souls. I think they're happening right now for a lot of people. Maybe can you just touch on maybe what the kind of dark night of the soul is and what your experiences was and how you kind of worked through it?
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot to uncover right there, unpack.
Well, we got time. We got time.
Yeah, we do. So basically, the dark night of the soul, I would say, is the journey of enlightenment, because there is no dark without the light, and there has to be both, right? So
Mhm.
I believe that going on a just looking broadly for a second, everyone has darkness within them that they have and darkness can mean trauma, past life trauma of themselves, energies that have tried to hold them back, child ancestral lineage trauma too. So basically, from a very young age, I was basically 10, and all of all of these dark entities, if you will, and dark forces dull my light. Excuse me.
Mhm.
But for a while, I really did believe it, because I was so psychic, and there's all these energies hitting me from my childhood trauma, my ancestral lineage. I have a lot of trauma within my family that, well, we all do. That's why we're on this planet too, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so being a psychic child, I was able to see it all, and I basically had the choice. I have a choice? Like, do I want to continue on the same journey, or do I want to change that? It's easier just to let it be and let it roll off your back and not fight it and not face it. But I connecting with my higher self and my spirit guides since I was a child, they basically told me, like, if you don't face it now, you're just going to manifest it in another lifetime or in another incarnation. So you have to do it now. And you're 10 years old, but you still got to do it now.
That's
And
crazy.
I know. So it was, for years, I was technically depressed. I had problems with my mental health. That's what society tried to tell me, right? And
Yeah.
that's the same with a lot of so many star seeds, so many psychic people too. We just feel we encompass all these people's energy. We don't even realize that it's not us, but it's other energies, right? Right?
Yes. You're it's like you're preaching to the choir, sister. Like, it's like, oh my God, I can relate to this, like as a
Absolutely.
child. Oh yeah. Like there was just a shitstorm of like toxic stuff. And I was just surrounded by it. It was just I
Yeah.
could feel it all the time. And I always thought it was my stuff. Like for the longest time, I didn't know what was mine and what was somebody else's and their stuff. And that was very difficult. So I so hear you on that one.
Yeah, exactly. I love that you said that, because I think all of that came to our manifestation in our outward reality. It just leads us to the journey back within, because we can't focus on our external reality. We can't look outside of ourselves. And that's what I believe, that's what the journey of enlightenment is, to come back into yourself, or in other terms, come back into a union of self, and fill up your own cup before looking outside of yourself. And that takes lifetimes and lifetimes. And that's why we're here. I've had I've been confirmed this by my spirit guides, but I've had over 1,099 lifetimes, and this is my second last lifetime
Here on this earth plane.
on this earth. Yeah,
Jeez,
yeah.
you're a keener, weren't you? You wanted to
I,
get it done. It's like I'll just keep flipping back. He was like, you die, you reincarnate. You die, you
yeah.
reincarnate. That's what it seems like. Jeez, girl.
I know, and so it's my second last lifetime on this earth, and what my spirit guides have told me is, this is your lifetime to detach from all physical manifestations. And what that means to me is all emotions, all triggers, all traumas. Like, this lifetime for me, I'm really working on the depths of my traumas, my ancestral lineage. And I find that this truly is my calling and my purpose. And that's why I feel like in my practice too, in my personal practice, with my psychic readings and my birth chart readings and past life regression, I feel that my purpose is really to show people that you can come back into yourself in a peaceful way. And I show people how to navigate through this. And it really is possible. I guess that's what I'm trying to say through all of this, is that it truly is possible to go from the depths of the deep, dark depths to light. And I'm an example of that. And I've worked through this over the past more than 8 years. But truly, I'm now in a place of light. My chakras are completely clear. I have no entities attached to me. and I'm completely a clear channel for the light. So that's really what my purpose is, to show people that they can navigate through this and to help them, to show them. Yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Yeah. So as far as navigating, so how did you navigate? Because I know a lot of people out there,
Yeah.
who are listening. And part of the reason why I do this channel or I do this podcast is to help people who maybe are suffering, out there, and they're going through life, and it's sucking for them. I like to call it the big suck. And
Yeah.
we're trying to figure this out. And, a lot of things have changed, especially with COVID and everything else. And there's a lot of collapsing happening in people's lives, egos, everything is just kind of like, it's kind of like doing that restart and trying to navigate that. So
Mm-hmm.
how did you navigate through the darkness? I mean, it's very nice that you had your guides and you were very connected, because that in itself is very nice to have that sort of connection that you have. It's like having people have your back, even though they're not like you can't physically see them, that they're there, they got your back. And they're kind of like, they're almost like that parenting, they're psychic parent, I call them, because
Yeah.
they're in the background, and they're helping you through this process. They're kind of guiding you. Okay, let's go this way. This is what's going to happen. You kind of got to go over here. This is what you need to do. You need to go see this person. You need to do that. And they kind of guide you slowly through that process. And you have, again, free will of choice to kind of go, yeah, or you can basically do what I do. And it's kind of like, screw that shit. I'm not doing that. I don't want to heal that.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to therapy. I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
do that stuff, be like that child, go, no, I'm not doing it. And then,
Mm-hmm.
all right, then life happens and you're going to have to go deal with it anyways.
Yeah.
So what are the things that you kind of did on your journey to help you kind of navigate through the darkness?
For sure. Yeah. Well, I've spent many years in the darkness. So, and what that means to me is like, I've to do it and have to be ready. You have to be ready to do it, and it has to be the time for you to do it, because you can't push things too. And whatever will come to you at the perfect time, it will come, right? Everything manifests when it's meant to be. But when you are ready to navigate the darkness, I would say, for myself, I've spent many years not knowing and feeling very alone. And even though I did know that I had spirit guides around me too, I still felt super alone. And we all do feel alone too, right? So that's a hard question too, because there's so many ways I wanna speak about this.
Well, just speak from the heart. Just kind of go into your heart and kind of like, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be everything that you did, but just give it, one or two things that, was there something that you just picked up a book, or was there something that you saw in a video that kind of like hit that little spark and kind of triggered that thing going, oh shit. All
Yeah.
right. All right. I get it. I can see what's going on here. Okay. I'm not as messed up as I think I am, and I can
Yeah.
get through it. Was there anything like that?
Uh, Definitely. I think they were all personal findings though. I think I was so hard on myself all as a child, because all of this energy, you take it on as your own. You don't know what's someone else's energy, and you don't know what's your own. So you take it on as your own. And I was so hard on myself too. And I think for so long, I was like that basically all my childhood. And then I kind of got to the point where I'm like, listen, we're not here to put pressure on ourselves. And that kind of revelation was like, you have to be willing to go into yourself, but you also have to be willing to forgive yourself. And when I realized that I was willing to forgive myself, that kind of just allowed me to accept the things in myself. So acceptance and forgiveness was something I worked on for probably 3 to 4 years, of just whenever something would come up, I forgive myself, I accept myself. And when I was 15 years old, I was like, why am I feeling this so heavy and hard, right? It's so deep. And I'm like, wow, this is not coming from this lifetime at all. This is coming from all my other lifetimes and so many past lives where I'm holding so much resentment for myself. So personally, there has been videos that I've seen, there's been podcasts, there's been things on the outer reality, but truly to make a difference in myself, I just always found that first, forgive yourself, allow yourself to see it. It might not be an easy thing to see, but instead of fear, seeing the fear, I think of it as discomfort. and kind of play with it. You don't have to be scared of something that is within you, but almost just feel into it, be curious about it. And just by that, you're already facing it. And then everyone thinks that, you know, to get over something is this big moment. And for me, I just realized that once you're already seeing it straight in the face, something that you don't like, you're already seeing it. That means you've already transmuted half of it. Just the awareness. At that point, you can be like, okay, I really don't need you anymore, and I can release you. And that's how I've transmuted so much of my darkness, so much of my ancestral trauma and all this stuff. And yeah, it used to be a scary thing for me, but the more you do it, the less it gets, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. Like you realize, I mean, at the beginning, it's always scary stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to do that. You know, it's like, I don't want to see that. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, that's just gross. And then, you know, depending on how hard you are on yourself, and I was one of those people too, as well. I was just always so hard on myself and just thinking, why am I like so messed up? Why am I this? Why am I feeling all this time? This
Yeah.
sucks. I hate it. You know, I hate myself, blah, blah, blah. And it just, you kind of get into that spinning wheel and like keep that cycle going. And you don't realize you kind of get into it. And then your whole outer world projects the same thing. And then you get that reinforcement that shows up in your life that your life sucks and because you suck. And yeah, it's kind of scary. But when you do kind of bring it to light, and that was one of the things I liked about the whole process, you know, my own story is it wasn't once I started getting into like doing therapy and start looking into healing myself and doing a whole bunch of different modalities and just looking at myself, and you kind of get that perspective. You pull back and you kind of go, oh, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that makes total sense. Okay, I can see where that is. And I just had a session too, because we're talking about past lives. I just had a lady on, it's
Mm-hmm.
fantastic, Marilyn. Just a little shout out to Marilyn Penny. She did a soul realignment on me.
Oh.
Very, very cool stuff. So it's similar to past life regression, but I didn't have to actually go myself to regress. She read my Akashic records, and she looked at specific times in my life that I've carried over, which I thought I dealt with a lot of the stuff that I dealt with, but
Yeah.
apparently I didn't because of that whole dimensionality to it.
Yeah.
And it was so enlightening. And she was telling me all these things about past lives, well, two particular anyways, that I was still bringing on. And it kind of like that light bulb happened. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that makes so sense. Like that's where that come from, because I used to feel this deep loneliness and I couldn't shake it. For I get ever since I was a child, this sadness, this loneliness, and I couldn't figure out where it came from. And you know, I've had trauma, I've had my shit, I've had a lot of experiences, and I thought it would maybe because of that. And I'm thinking, well, I thought I dealt with it, and it just kept resurfacing, but it was something that I carried over from a past life, and I was like, dang, that makes so. And when she touched on it, it was like this whole kind of other thing, and it kind of opened me up, and I started seeing that life what it was. And so I'm just right now working on that. So I've had a little bit of homework that she gave me to do to kind of clear that. But
Yeah.
wow, very, very profound. Is that what you've been finding with past life regression stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that someone's trauma is not coming from this life at all, and we're so hard on ourselves because our ego wants to expand and expand and expand, and me, more attention to me, but really like that trauma is coming from way, 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 way back from other lifetimes that and there's themes in your lifetimes too, right? But yeah, I'm gonna bring it back to you because I just lost my thought. So
You know what it is? Because you're bouncing in between two realities right now. I can see it's like
yeah,
you're partly connected. You got your peeps kind of checking in to see where you're going. So you're partly here, but you're partly not. So that's the
yeah.
good thing about being myself. Being like, I know, I get it. And
Thank you.
that happens a lot. But when you get onto your topic and your things, you get
Yeah,
so many peeps, and this has happened to me so many times. Your peeps
yeah.
get involved and they get so excited because you're talking your truth. They're getting excited. It's like, okay, she's out there talking about this, all this stuff that she really loves. She's bringing light into it. And you kind of meld in between the two worlds, and your energy kind of shifts back. So you kind of lose your train of thought, but that it's not because you're not paying attention. It's just that you got everybody hanging out with you. They're like going, nice. It's like same thing with, I find with mediumship. Once I open that door with mediumship,
Mhm.
it's like everybody wants in.
Yeah.
Everybody wants in, and it's like, oh, there's a door. Let's go see what's happening. Where's the party at? We got to go check things out. So have you always been have mediumship abilities too? or did that actually develop later on too as well?
Yeah, that was later on when I worked through enough of my shadow where I wasn't fearful to go on to the other side. But it took years to actually get out of my shadow and into the light, and it really came with self-love too. Without self-love, I wasn't be able to do mediumship. But in the past it's only been about 5 years that I've really done mediumship, but and the past life regression. But it comes so quick to me, and now that I'm seeing light through my eyes, and there's as I'm speaking, there's almost like 10 people trying to talk right now. So I'm either talking fast or slow, and I'm seeing so many lights around me. So I'm just trying to
You may want to do a technique. What I usually do is just say, okay, listen, because you're in kind of a control. They get all excited, and I love my peeps, but you kind of have to say, listen, all right, I got to focus on one thing. If somebody wants to come through, has a specific message, one person, not 6, 10, 20, or the group or whoever's trying to come in, just say, listen, I'm here on a podcast, or I'm here at school, or I'm here doing my work. Let me just talk to one.
Exactly.
And then kind of work it that way. Yeah. Because that's one thing I learned about mediumship through one of my teachers, is that you're always in control. And you can just say, listen, okay, enough's enough. I love you guys, but I need my time.
For sure. And how's your mediumship been? How long have you been doing it? And how's that?
Oh my God, now let me just see now. It's 2020. I think I really started at 2010. So probably a good 10 years. Okay. For most part, I was kind of in the closet for it. I was still studying, I was still practicing and doing readings, but I didn't really do, really go full time on it, stuff like that. Part of it was I had this thing where I didn't feel I was accurate enough, because I had friends of mine who are like super freak accurate. And you always I judge myself based on their abilities, not my own. And that kind of stifled my progression, because I was always comparing myself to other psychics. But then once I released that and let that go, I just, allowed myself just kind of give messages when it happened. And a lot of the times, and this is really interesting, I would end up giving, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, you kind of give like ambush readings. So let's say, for example, we're meeting for coffee, and all of a sudden I would feel their energy starting to develop over me. I can feel that kind of go into a trance state. And it's just like, here it comes. And it's like, I got to give the message, because they're just right on me. And it just happens so many times. I've been at work at different places, and it's like, can we just go into this room here? I need to kind of talk to you about something. And it shows up, especially for my friends. It happens to my friends all the time. I'm at dinner at their place, and all of a sudden I'm in a trance, and there's like 5 people around, and I just start giving readings. They just kind of come over, and it's like, all right, here we go. This is what's happening. So
that's a beautiful thing. I just find it's so hard to live a third dimensional life, fourth dimensional, and come out into for the star seeds out there and people that are an empath too. It is so difficult to actually live and turn it off, or block it, and not block it, but either put your intention and put your boundaries too. So I'm just finding that for me, it's to do that. You have to activate a certain, like, step into your power too, right?
Yeah. That's where the warrior comes in. That's that warrior energy. Which is something that, again, the same idea. It's like, because you're very sensitive, our boundaries are a little kind of skewed, right? And so if you had trauma, right, and all this other stuff, your boundaries are just a mess. And especially on an energetic level, again, it's between whose stuff are you picking up? What's yours? What's that? And if you got a toxic family, you're picking up all their garbage. Everybody else is around you. So it's just a constant bombardment to that. So boundaries are very important. Yeah. And it's really about embracing the warrior. That's what I've always found. You got to kind of have that warrior aspect of it. And it's kind of like, it's kind of like a very healthy way of kind of saying, like, fuck that shit. No, it's not. No, you got to just kind of say no. And you kind of have to get that kind of feeling in there. And it's kind of like, no, this is not mine. This is not appropriate right now. No, that's your stuff. That's not mine. No, this is my space. And you really kind of have to kind of say, and that's even on the energetic level, because again, there are energies out there, there's always light, but there's always dark. And if you don't have boundaries, and that's when I know I went through several kind of dark night of the souls, because I was trying to curb myself and try to mitigate the feelings of just my own trauma, but everybody else's, by a lot of alcohol and drugs. and that just messed up your more boundaries, because again,
Yeah.
physically, chemically, you're just messing yourself up just to not feel all the time.
Mhm.
I did not want to feel. I did not want to feel, because I felt everything. I felt
Yeah.
everybody's pain. Like, and I always called it my curse.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
used
I
to
know
tell,
exactly what you're thinking.
I used to, and I still say it once in a while, it's my curse. Like people just like whoever, like my friends go, why do you like, I had this one friend of mine. She says, you're always closed down. You're always so closed. And I have to, because I'm so sensitive. I pick up everything. And if I don't kind of shield myself and kind of close down appropriately, I'm going to feel it. So if they're having a bad day and their emotional stuff's coming up, I can feel it in my heart, and it just sticks to you. And it's just like, oh, it's the worst feeling, because it's, for me, it took me a while just to shake it off. Like I come
Mhm.
home, I'd have to shake it off, and it sucked. And you're kind of have to, all you're doing is like taking a bath, trying to clear it, smudging,
Oh yeah.
doing everything just to kind of clear that energy. And it's not fun. And then if you go out
Oh
into public
no.
spaces, you go into a shopping mall and you got hundreds, maybe thousands of people all have their emotional pain bodies just sitting around, and you
Yeah.
bump into somebody, and it's just like, oh,
Oh,
I used to struggle with that so often. I used to work in retail as
yeah.
in it was like a nightmare for me. It really is.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love what you said about the warrior aspect, because I just think that there's so much divine awakening that's happening on the planet right now. It's really we're dissolving what we need to dissolve in the third dimension so we can rise, and our souls want to rise. And I'm sure you can sense energetically too. Like our souls are doing some absolute deepest healing that we've ever endured ever, and it's just manifesting on the outward plane in politics. And I'm not very politically bound, but but just on the third dimension, everything's shaking up right now. And really, as we've never been taught any, we have been taught to come into our power, and now more than ever, and especially as the new decade of 2020 and 2021, I just find the energies that are floating in, they're they're aligning deep in your core, and they're really connecting to our personal sense of power, our warrior stance, our standing in our truth, speaking our truth, all of that. And that's all trauma too. That's because for so long there has been dark forces on the earth that have overtaken, but really the energy of the dark is so small compared to light. Like we relentlessly will rise, and I believe that. I have absolute complete trust that this earth will rise and our souls are rising, and this is a step in the right direction, and I think it's a crucial step, and we have to do all this healing right now, because if we don't, we're just going to keep manifesting it. But the earth itself is an energetic body, as you know, right? So
Hmm.
so the earth is doing so much deep healing, and I feel like connecting to the earth now more than ever is very important too. And you can sense that too, as everyone's going for walks and all these different things, and we're getting creative in different ways. But I just think that there's such massive healing going on, and it seems like it's the beginning, but it really does seem like a new reset, and people are standing in their power and speaking their truth more than ever. I think it's so beautiful. It's hard, but it's an important thing that we have to face to become our highest versions, right?
Yeah, it is that big trend. Like, I see it so many times, and so many people on the interviews I've talked about this. So
Mm-hmm.
like it's not going away. Like it's on deep,
Yeah.
profound levels.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody I've talked to, how to think it's really about deep emotional wounding. It's like multidimensional from past lives, current lives. Everything is just being healed on so many subtle levels. Most people are not even aware of that, but some people are, because they're just there's just this shaking of the foundation. It's kind of like these energies are kind of forcing everybody to kind of like, okay, let's just shake
Yeah.
this out. Let's shake
Oh
this out. You've
yeah.
been holding on this for lifetimes and years, and even in
Mm-hmm.
this lifetime, we got to shake this. And so many things are being brought to the surface, and it's all about guiding people through that process. Because a lot of the masses, like ourselves, we've been at this for a while, so we kind of look back and kind of, yeah, we've always known along. It's okay. You guys are in for a treat. Here we go.
Yeah.
And I really commend you, especially like you, because you're getting out there and you're talking about that, and you're helping people navigate this particular type of energies, which is really, really important. And somebody who's at your age, because it's your age group, that are
Yeah.
really starting to inherit the world, and they're the ones who are going to be making the big changes. I'm an old guy here, so I mean, I've kind of done my stint, you know. So I'm just kind of like, I'm kind of being like your guys' cheerleaders, like, all right, you guys got the ball, let's do this. And especially now, there is that new movement of, and again, it's been around for a while, but it's the shifting of energies, right? It's like passing the torch, and which is so commendable, which I really find very, very fascinating too at the same time.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that. And honestly, I do commend you for yourself as well, because you're doing exactly what you need to for your generation.
Yeah.
And right, it's we're all meant to be in the era that we are, right?
Yes.
But yeah, so it is interesting though, because there is so much awakening going on, but people don't actually realize that right now it's one of the hardest and darkest times on the earth, but it is such a shake to the core, to the brim, that people are very just confused, right? And,
Hmm.
and that confusion, a trigger, I always say, is just a trauma that hasn't been looked at yet. So really, when you feel that sense of confusion, that is something that hasn't been examined yet, and that is a trauma too. Why do you feel confused? Because you're not coming into yourself, right? And really, I believe the journey of enlightenment is coming back into union with self and filling up your own cup. And once you fill up that cup with self-love and self-appreciation, that changes your outward reality, as you know. But
Yeah, because you're
so
not looking for external, you're not looking for the
yeah,
external sources. Like we're always looking for something outside of us to
yeah,
kind of give us relief and to understand who we are, identify. And that's something important. I just had a person on, and she talked about, self-love, and which was really important. I always find that, and that was one of the things I struggle with, is self-love.
mhm,
We talked about it, because we always try to look for it in relationships. We're very good about trying to look for love in relationships. When we don't love ourselves and we're projecting our crap on our partners, it doesn't really work out that well.
yeah,
But once you start self-filling your love, I mean, it's just like, it just makes it so much easier that you find two people who have self-love. So you both are full. So there's no, like, this whole codependent, dependent type relationship. It's more of a interdependent relationship, and you can move forward on that. But it's interesting enough, like, there's so many people, finally waking up and doing their work. I commend them on that. It's
yeah.
so, for those who are listening and you guys are doing your work, awesome. Love you guys. Keep doing it. Go through the muck. When you get through the muck on the other side, you're just gonna feel so much better.
Yeah, exactly. And take it from an example of myself, I've gone through so much muck in my life, and you as well. We've on the other side of the muck is the best thing you can absolutely even imagine. Your life can get so extremely beautiful and enlightened and expansive and abundant, and money can come and flow, and it's so much abundance too. But it takes so much effort, and it takes desire, and it takes drive. But I feel like that's why we're on this planet. If we weren't on this planet, we wouldn't need to do all these lessons, right? So I just believe that we're on this planet to do this. This is what we came here for. And
Yeah.
once we start waking up to that and see the beauty in it, rather than fear and illusion, because fear is just an illusion. Fear is false evidence appearing real. It's complete illusion. Once we realize that there is such an illusion that we've identified with for so long, then we can actually just drop it too. It doesn't take that much effort to drop it once you realize it, but coming to those revelations, and
Yeah.
yeah, just something else that you sparked my interest when you mentioned the relationships and codependency, because our relationships and everything in our outward reality is complete mirror of the unexamined self that is within. The triggers will always come up, right? So something I always like to do as a little activity is I like to write. So I write in my journal all the things that I would love in a partner, and I really go to the deep place of my heart. What do I really want from a partner? And take some time to like really think about it. Don't just skim the surface. And the list that you come up with, that's the things you have to give yourself. So that's what I like to do whenever I feel like there is something that I would like in a partner, or something in my relationship, something like that. I like to do that. Yeah.
That's pretty profound. That's really profound. That's very deep and very profound, and it's very easy to do. Like, I mean, because the things that you desire most are the things that you have to kind of fulfill yourself at that same time,
Yeah,
which is
absolutely.
really profound, but most people don't even realize that they're doing that.
Yeah, exactly. So, and you just gotta laugh about it too, because we can, I feel you on this one, Mike. Like, I have been hard on myself and for so long, and that's coming from trauma from so many past lives. Like, you also have to think about it. Our soul has chosen this family to incarnate, chosen this era to incarnate, chosen your outward reality, and we're here to do this. And our souls have come from other places, other dimensions. We're not just earthlings. We are way bigger than that, and we're way more important. So also to just give yourself that appreciation for enduring what you do, and be a little bit less hard on yourselves, and just laugh through it and try and have fun while you're doing it. That's what helped me navigate so much, because there was always something that I was looking to transmute in myself, and I just played around with it. Say if I have a flaw that I don't like, something about myself, I want to improve it. I've tried to be really nice to myself, or say I want to change it, and I'm hard on myself, and it's always a million times easier just to go about it with that childlike joy and fun and playfulness, and that helps transmute it too, is bringing a little bit more joy and laughter into our life, especially
Yeah.
right now with how heavy the times are, right?
Yeah. And I think we miss that, and that sense of joy and such a childlike experience. And, I always kind of go back to like doing your inner child work and healing that aspect of it. Cause we tend to forget that playful part. Like,
Yeah.
for the longest time, I didn't understand what inner child was, the joy of that, because as a child, I never had that, never knew what that experience was. It was the most bizarre thing. People go, do you remember you were a childhood? Do you remember, experiencing joy? I go, no. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So, I mean, well, it was interesting. Like, once you have that kind of joy, and you feel that type of release in that childhood, it's less fearful and less frightening. It's just a sense of joy. Like, I mean, we're all going to go through muck. We're going to go through muck, and you're going to have, could be muck for a year, could be 2 years, 3 years, could be 10 years. Um, I've had like multiple. It's like seems like every 5 years I kind of go through shit, like a big muck. But I think I'm through most of the muck. Thank the Lord and all that other good stuff. I'm on the other side of it now, so I think I've done enough clearing. Oh my God.
For sure.
Um,
For
to
sure.
kind of get through stuff. And but now I kind of look at it as like kind of a joyous process too, because there's just so many great healers out there. And it's kind of like a love thing. It's like, when you peel the Band-Aid off, it hurts, but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time too, you go, oh, look, it's healed. Oh yeah. But when you get another scar, you kind of look at it, it's like you peel that Band-Aid off. Oh, it sucks. And you got to look at that, and it's like, oh, that sucks. But then oh, it's going to heal eventually, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, oh, I like the pain, but then I kind of got into it. Like, I just love looking at the layers, because I'm just so intrigued. Like, there's just like, it just doesn't end.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I found with it, as like, because it's interesting. And I think a lot of people out there who are doing work, it's like that proverbial onion that just never ends. You peel one layer off, and there's like something else. There's another layer, and you peel that one off. And it's like, and I got to a point where it's like, fuck me, like, really? Can we just stop
Yeah.
for a bit?
Yeah.
But then part of me kind of goes, oh, let's see what the next layer is. And then what's the next layer? I think it was like, I don't know if it was a masochist. I just love that kind of pain, but I'm kind of past that now. It's like, okay, let's just have some more fun and joy and kind of work on from there.
For sure. And I feel like it's so easy to get stuck in that too, because it feels like it's literally never ending in that onion world, constantly being pulled back. But when your soul is when you're going through that one layer and clearing off that one blind spot, it really leads to something greater that we don't realize, but it's for our greatest purpose. And like,
Mhm.
even if we think that, even if something is coming up, our souls always want to just expand and expand and expand, and that's our natural inclination, is that even it comes in from our dreams, right? Even our subconscious energies, they're coming into our dreams, and that's why people have dark dreams right now. I also do dream analysis, so I've seen how the subconscious manifests, and comes into our consciousness and even our subconscious, that's coming from dreams too. That's coming from past life trauma and ancestral stuff too, right? But I guess what I was trying to say is that even if our natural inclination is that our souls will always want to thrive and rise up. So even if something is coming up, instead of thinking it as resisting it or creating more resistance, which just makes it more difficult, and you can't get it when you're succumbing to the resistance, your ego just gets too involved, right? But allowing that to just come up and give and say thank you, and that it's a beautiful thing that it is rising up to the surface because your soul is ready to see it. If your soul wasn't ready to see it, you wouldn't be clearing it right now. So kind of thinking of it from that broad perspective can help too, right?
Yeah, and I think that's well said. I think that's really poignant too as well. I mean, you're only ready for what you're ready for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not ready for it, it's not going to show up. But but your soul knows you. It's been with you since the beginning. It observes you. It watches you. It's that divine aspect of yourself it's always there, and it always loves you. And then it knows you the best. It knows you better than your mother, your father, and anybody else, your friends. It's been with you since the beginning, so it really does know you, and it's really important to kind of get in touch with that. And that's your divine aspect. And once you get in touch with that, things just change. The miraculous happens. The miraculous will happen.
Exactly.
So that being said, Rachel, we're almost out of time. Can you believe that?
That was a really quick hour. We just
Yeah.
flowed.
Yeah. I'm looking at the timer and going, no, it's like, wow, this is really crazy. It happens so fast.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happens when you start channeling information on podcasts. So I think that's your new thing. You're going to be doing channeling with Rachel. That's the new thing. You'll be channeling messages through higher dimensions. I have friends of mine who work with the Palladians and the Arcturians and everybody else. So I'm sure you'll be working with some people on some level, channeling information on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it. It was such a pleasure talking to you. We just flowed beautifully. So
yeah, it definitely does a lot of great information out there. So if people are looking at your services, if they want readings and birth chart analysis, where do they find you? So if you could just give them your information so they can find you on the World Wide Web.
Yeah, for sure. So my website is pretty simple. It's just rachelstummer.net, and you'll see my birth chart readings, my past life regression, and also just mental wellness coaching and how to navigate and all that good stuff. So that can be on my website. And then if you would like to follow me on my social media, I have Instagram, and my name is just Rachel Stums, Stumms. And that's about it. I will be a naturopathic doctor shortly one day, but I'll be integrating and doing my services in different ways. So that will be subject to change. So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be fantastic. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. There's a new movement, which I'm familiar with because I'm trying to help promote that movement as well, using people use their gifts in their practices. For sure, it's going to be a new process, a new way of thinking, a new way of healing, new way of interpreting life and all that good stuff. Rachel, it's been a pleasure. Awesome. Yeah. I'm so excited for you. I know you're going to do some big things, especially with your practice and bring it all together. So I have a good sense that my spidey senses are tingling on that one. So yeah.
Thank you, Mike. I really appreciate that. Yeah, this is just a huge beginning. You're going to be doing amazing things too.
Well, thank you. So I'm just going to close off my show. So I just want to say thank you again, Rachel. I appreciate that. So this has been the Metaphysical Mentor podcast with Michael Philpott. Thank you so much for joining me, and goodbye for now.